What the going on this team, Jerry?
Bury him! Bury him!
Jerry, TJ Watt.
He is the best defensive player on the planet.
Go! Yes! Yes! We're going to fire! Steelers fans! Bang! Run it down their throat!
No! That's not a penalty!
Game over! Game over! Don't ask me to do nothing! This is nothing!
He's aggressive.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Steel Here podcast, where I'm your host, Kevin Adams, alongside my partner in crime, Jersey Jerry. Jerry Don, it has been 6 months since we've recorded an episode of Steel Here for the fans. We took a long break after another heartbreaking ass whooping of a season last year in the playoffs. But boy, Jerry Don, training camp is officially 4 days in, and it feels like vibes are pretty high. We have a lot to recap for the people. You just want to start with the end of the season, lead into free agency, and then go from there?
Yeah, we got a lot to cover. Wow, it's been 6 months. That's pretty crazy. Obviously miserable end to the year last year. Derrick Henry just little boyed us all game. Heartbreak after heartbreak. I just had a feeling I knew that game was over in the first quarter. You just knew it. You just knew they just couldn't compete with the Ravens.
Yeah.
But listen, at the end of that game, I really was dead set on thinking this would turn towards a rebuild. I really thought there was a chance somehow, some way TJ could have been gone.
Mm-hmm.
Rookie quarterback coming in. That's going to be your starter. Build through the draft. But they had other plans. They went all in. If I was to say right now, I feel like they're probably 90% all the way in. I think they just need probably one more piece. And they're pretty. I mean, listen. After that game, there was no way I thought they were getting Rodgers. No shot.
No.
And even if they got Rodgers, still, me and you were like, well, they can get Rodgers. What's that change? It's probably gonna be the same old shit. But you see what they did, man. Jonnu Smith, the defensive players they got, Slay, Ramsey. They went and got They picked up Gainwell. Man, they made some moves, man. The con artist, he said, fuck this. We ain't rebuilding, we're reloading.
It's a lot different than it's been in years past. I mean, the similarities, they get blown out in the playoffs. They look the same. They come out flat. It's all the same bullshit. No heart. The announcers are saying that Steelers, who are these Steelers? They have no heart. All the same shit we come to expect from a Mike Tomlin team in the playoffs. And so when the season ends, Sherry, I text you, I'm like, I might take out a billboard to let the Steelers know. Like, yeah, I can tweet about it. We have big platforms. We can tweet about it. Hundreds of thousands of people see that shit. But I wanted them to have to see that every single day when they drove to work. So I did it. I said I was going to take out a billboard, and I did it last year. I took out a billboard that said, the standard is mediocrity. Trade Tomlin or sell the team, Rooney. We've had enough. And it was big news. It made the news. Yeah. Colin Cowherd talks about it on his show. Steelers fans are fed up. And we are fed up, Jerry. We are, because that type of end of the season is 8 years now, no playoff wins. This season coming in would be 9 if they don't win a playoff game. That's the type of shit that, I'm not going to bite my tongue about it anymore. And I don't care. I'm going to say what I want to say freely. I still don't have any faith in Mike Tomlin. However, Omar Khan is what I can buy into a little bit. I can buy into Omar, Jerry, because look what they do in free agency. We'll run right down the list here. They released Larry Ogunjobi. Okay, I think what your background is.
I'm done with the virtual background. I mean, it was just insane. It just was insane. I couldn't. It was blurry. I said I can't do it. Whatever.
It's our first episode back, season 4, episode 1 of the Steel Here podcast. We're gonna work out some kinks, but real quick, we do appreciate the shit out of you guys. 4 seasons of you guys supporting this show. That's fucking absolutely incredible. We could not do it without you, so we do love that. But getting back to it, they start the season, they release Larry Ogunjobi. So you cut a defensive lineman. After your defensive line gets absolutely throttled against the Ravens, like you mentioned, Derrick Henry runs wild on him, 299 rushing yards in total for the Ravens. They go out, they then sign guys like Kenneth Gainwell, which you mentioned, who's a little firecracker of a running back. Maybe after the draft, you see they bring in Caleb Johnson. Maybe Kenneth Gainwell's more of a change of pace back, but he's a Super Bowl winning running back. And I like what he can bring you in a pinch. Say one of those guys gets dinged, that guy has experience and has some explosiveness. You have Darius Slay, another Eagles cornerback, wins a Super Bowl. Is he old? Yes, Jerry, he's a little bit old, but the guy still has a lot of fucking good tape. You saw what he was doing to remember him and Darnell are going at it when the Steelers played last year in Philly. So he still has some fire. You bring in Mason Rudolph comes back. And for a while, prior to Aaron Rodgers, it looks like this could be Rudolph's team. And Jerry and I had a lot of conversations behind the scenes where we were fine with that for this season. If they were going to draft a rookie, or if even they were going to wait this draft and draft a rookie to be their quarterback next year, I was fine with Mason Rudolph for a season because I think the ceiling is maybe 10 wins, kind of what it looked like when he led them a few years ago, but however, the floor could be terrible. And in my mind, I thought for a brief period of time, a low floor would be great, better draft position, finally get a quarterback, jumpstart this rebuild. They add Juan Thornhill, who goes on to be maybe a big addition when they trade Minka. Okay, so they don't have another safety right now. They did just sign Chuck Clark, the ex-Ravens safety. But safety, Jerry, is probably the biggest concern. And then you look at wide receiver when all they added was Robert Woods after trading away George Pickens, which was wildly shocking to do it after the draft.
Yes. Yeah, that was the crazy part that I thought. We thought there was a chance he was going to get dealt draft night. And when he didn't, we were just like, okay, well, it's DK and George, 1-2 punch right there,
which would have been a blast to see.
Yeah, would have been electric. I mean, at least I would have liked to see it for a couple of games,
right?
Then trade him, whatever. But listen, they must have been really just done with George, man. They were just done with him. And what are you gonna do? All the talent in the world, but you look at George's career as a Steeler, sure, and I think you were more, Kev. I would say you were a little bit more defensive of George than I was, because I would tell you, like, Kev, like, yeah, he's great. He makes these great catches, but just look at these numbers. He's not getting 100 yards receiving. He's not scoring touchdowns. And then you're like, oh, well, look at this. They don't throw him the ball, which they, didn't throw him the ball. Right. I will say that. But, I mean, listen, best of luck to George. He was fun to watch as a Steeler. Crazy as ever. Would have liked to see him with DK, but what are you going to do? It is what it is. But they go out and they go get Jonnu Smith, who a tight end, but you could stretch him outside. You know what I mean? Yep. He's a great playmaker. I think he was he top 10 receiver, tight end receiving last year?
Yes, last year. Yes, he was. And he's familiar with Arthur Smith. You're getting a lot of familiarity in an Arthur Smith system, who has used him incredibly well in the past. He's had the best seasons of his career under Arthur Smith's offense. So you add him when you're lacking wide receivers, you add another tight end. Between he and Freiermuth, I think that could be a pretty dangerous connection, especially in Arthur Smith's system. But at the end of the day, Jerry, comes down to two things. Are the Steelers going to have the ability to use a second wide receiver? Because it's not Robert Woods. I mean, Robert Woods is an older man. We're just recycling that old man wide receiver. You go Allen Robinson type. That's what he falls into.
Yep.
Van Jefferson's. That is who Robert Woods would be at this stage in his career. So are you going to be able to rely on two tight ends and a DK Metcalf, who they gave five years, $150 million to? Yeah. Or do you need another wide receiver?
I don't know, man. A part of me feels like they're probably going to pick one up, but they seem really content with what they have, at wide receiver. The two tight ends, three. I mean, listen, they got Darnell, Pat, and Jonnu.
Yep.
And then you got Calvin Austin. You got DK Metcalf. You got Roman Wilson. Listen, I know these aren't superstar names here besides probably DK, but, I mean, dude, they're not bad. If Roman Wilson could contribute a little bit and Calvin Austin takes another big step, they're okay. I don't think they're great, but they're pretty good, man. They're pretty good at wide receiver there. I don't know. I mean, they're not going to go out and get a guy like Terry McLaurin. They're not doing that. They'll try to see who gets cut and whatnot and pick somebody up like that. But, I don't see them making a big move. Do you?
No, and I think you said they're about 90% all in. I would agree. They're about 90% all in. They have about $20 million in cap space that they could burn. If they're going Rodgers this season and you throw the big bag at TJ, now he's making over $40 million a season, which we'll get to that conversation here in a bit. But you're going to do all these things. You're going to, on paper, say, hey, look, we're all in. We're all in. Then you go out, you better sign another safety. Like, Justin Simmons is out there, Jerry. You could sign Justin Simmons. He's a free safety. Yeah. He's probably the best one available right now. That's a guy I would go add. Yeah, Chuck Clark, but he's coming off a year where he didn't play football he blew his knee up. So that's a whole year. Who knows what you're going to get out of him? Is Juan Thornhill going to be that good? I don't know. But it's that wide receiver spot. They have that $20 million. You mean to tell me you can't sign maybe a Gabe Davis is out there? I would take Amari Cooper at this point. Keenan Allen. These guys are out there. I don't want to diminish what we've gotten out of oh God, his name's escaping me already. Wide receiver. You mentioned him, Small. Why am I not thinking of his name right now?
Calvin Austin?
Yes, Calvin Austin. Boy, I'm not sharp right now. But yeah, Calvin Austin. I'm not going to diminish what we get out of Calvin Austin. But Jerry, I'm just not entirely sure that I want to rely on him being wide receiver to a full season. Yeah. If you bring in Aaron Rodgers for a 1-year run, I would just much rather prefer him to do the same role that he's had, last year, beat guys through the slot, that kind of stuff, especially with Aaron Rodgers, who does use the middle of the field a little bit more than Russell Wilson did, than Big Ben did, than Justin Fields did, than Kenny Pickett did, than Mitch Trubisky did. I want to be able to attack middles of field, and I think you need a better wide receiver to do it. So before I can go all in and be super hype about that, I would love to see them maybe poach one of the Packers wide receivers, because they are loaded at wide receiver, and not all of those guys are going to make the roster. So who knows what Romeo Dubes can bring you, or Christian Watson. I would take a look at him. There are some options out there, but I agree. I think they'll probably go bargain bin shopping once, some cuts start to come down through camp.
I think Watson's done. Is Watson done for the year?
Is he?
I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm not sharp either, but I'm in off-season mode still. Watson, Packers. Is he done? I don't know. He might be. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. Update from torn ACL. Remember he tore his ACL?
Yeah, that was last year though. I think he can play this year. I want to say he can play this year. I'm not entirely sure, but they did just draft another wide receiver. I know they have a loaded wide receiver room. So there's a possibility one of those guys is available. But I mean, at this point, I'm not even greedy. I would take a Gabe Davis. I think Gabe Davis brings a decent little skill set if you put him in the right situation. Did he struggle with the Jaguars? Yes, but Gabe Davis is not a bad football player, especially when he was with Josh Allen and the Bills. He could play.
No, he was not. He was solid.
Torched the shit out of us. Torched the shit out of us.
Did.
So let's not forget about that.
That was a crazy game. Yeah, fuck. I remember that game. That was a fucking. They rolled us.
Smoked us deep, real bad. And
I'll tell you what I do love is Tomlin. A couple days ago, he pretty much said, in this league you got to be able to play man to man, which they weren't playing a lot of man to man.
A lot of zone, and getting beaten bad in the zone.
And he went out and got these 3 DBs, and it's like, okay, man, they're trying to man up with Look at the division. You got the guys like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Like they have 3 guys that could play man on man. You know what I mean?
It's great.
Now you got so it's a big difference. They're really going all in on that defensive side of the ball, man. Especially what they did in the draft as well, which I love.
Yep.
The defense for the draft. You got Peyton Wilson coming into his 2nd year, which I think he could take a big step forward. Didn't have the best, rookie season, but he was solid, and he said it himself. He says he looks at it like, hey, he's one of the better coverage linebackers in the league, and he was a rookie last year. So we'll see what he can bring to the table this year, but I'm listen, the way this defense looks just on paper, you just look at this on paper, they're top 3 on paper when it comes to defense.
It's time they start to really become a top fucking 3 defense, though. Yeah. Like for me, we do this every offseason. Highest paid better be the best defense. Highest paid, and they don't hold up their end of the bargain late in the year. Now you can attribute some of that to the offense not helping them. They're tired. I'm sure they're not getting off the field. Long drives, defenses run down, injuries for sure. But if they're going to be the highest paid defense yet again, and they are, and you trade away Minka and you bring in Jalen Ramsey. And you bring in all these cornerbacks.
I don't hate Minka. I respect Minka Love Minka. I thought he was a great Steeler for a couple of years. I was a little shocked, but I didn't hate Minka leaving at all.
No, it didn't break my heart. It didn't break my heart. We've been real about Minka last couple of seasons. His play has fallen
2
off.
years now. We went, he fell off a little bit, dude. And listen, that comes with age. It is what it is.
Right.
Was he a great tackler? Yes, he was. I'll give him that. Saved a lot of big plays. But he just wasn't getting a splash, man. He wasn't, causing those pass breakups, those picks like he had early on as a Steeler. And whether that's the system or what, he just wasn't doing it. He just wasn't doing it.
1 interceptions in 2 seasons. That is not worth $21 million a year. I don't care. It's just not. You can pay someone else that's younger and faster. If they play him 30 yards off the ball, 40 yards downfield just to keep a roof on the thing, you can find somebody that's faster to do that role.
They look at Deshaun Elliott as their Minka now.
Yeah.
That's their Minka.
And what's the cute thing? I don't know if that's who Deshaun Elliott is. I love Deshaun Elliott. I just don't know if that's his role.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, I felt like they were very, very comfortable with him. You know what I mean? They seen how he played last year.
Yep.
And they were probably like, you know what, dude? This kid could fucking ball, man. He's a dog. He made some big plays. He had a great year.
Yes, he did.
And that contract, I thought he was going to get more than that. I thought that was a good deal.
That's a great deal for the Steelers. So you extend him. Now you have Deshaun Elliott for 3 years. I mean, that's a solid. I love Deshaun Elliott. I love the way he plays. He puts his face in the fire. He bangs. He's not afraid to tackle. He gets up near the line of scrimmage and bangs. I love Deshaun Elliott's game. I really hope that either Juan Thornhill figures it out beside him or Chuck Clark can figure it out, or they add another safety, though, because I just don't want it to be, okay, now you've patched up all of your cornerback spots, and yet now you have a weakness at the deep center field spots. You don't have a free safety that's good to roam around. So now you've just moved your hole somewhere further down the field. And then, that changes things. But one thing that does excite me so far that we've seen is TJ's willingness to move around on the line now. He's no longer just going to be on the left side. He has openly said in preseason, in training camp, he's going to be moving around that line of scrimmage, which we've asked for it. We've said it needs to happen. They need to be a little bit more creative with their blitz schemes. They can't just be the 3-4 defense, try and get pressure off the edges and let sit back in coverage. I really think they're going to have to try and make some changes. And when you have a secondary that can keep the receivers in check, it buys that little bit of extra time that you need for your pass rush. And your pass rush can be dominant. The Eagles shown exactly what it takes to beat the Chiefs, to win a Super Bowl. You can rely on great defense, great defensive line, linebackers, secondary, and your offense doesn't have to be incredible. Now, granted, their offense is incredible and it played phenomenally, but it's their defense that made Patrick Mahomes look human in that Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, no, their defense last year, man, they really stepped up, man. Then they had some young guys that did it,
Yeah.
So I'm excited, man, for this year coming up. I really am. I thought they had one hell of an off season. Sure, we're a little bit on the older side. I get that, and some people are worried about that. But listen, as a fan, would you rather them just say, okay, don't make any of these transactions, and you get Will Howard and see what he can do, and you don't go out and get DK Metcalf. You just, try to rebuild a little bit. I'd rather see them do what they're doing right now. I'd rather see them. Listen, do I miss Russie a little bit? Yeah. Do I think about Russie? Yeah, a little bit. I wish he never went.
You're sick. Russ sucked the last month of the season. He went back to everything everybody thought he was just cringy, weird. He's goofy. We defended him. I want to defend him. He's our quarterback. I'll fucking walk across fire for a guy that plays for the Steelers. I'll do it if I have to. But towards late in the year,
he was bad.
Yes, at least with Rodgers, whether you like him or not. And I know a lot of people do not like Aaron Rodgers for off the field things and the COVID and the politics and the Pat McAfee. If that guy still wins football games, I could not give a shit less about any of that.
Care less. Yeah.
I could not fucking care less. I honestly have long said, I don't care who you are outside of game day. As long as you bring the product that they need to win, you do anything you fucking want off the field when you're not playing. I don't care. I really think he still has a little bit something left in the tank. When you see some of these plays so far at training camp, now you haven't gotten to go there. I've been there twice so far out of 4 days. The guy still throws an insanely nice ball, Jer. I mean, it's a pretty ball. He still has some pop. I mean, it's the best arm we've seen since last couple of years of Ben, even before the elbow injury, probably. So for a 41-year-old quarterback, is he old? Hell yes, he's old, and it does scare the shit out of me. And it should scare everybody because he's an old man. He's not young. But if he can just get it going in the last half of last year, Jerry, he played great quarterback. I mean, he finished in top 10, especially the last 8 games. Once he got over that Achilles tear, and he started to find his rhythm the last half of that season, he looked like a top 15, top 10 quarterback. And we've long said, if we can just get someone that plays decent quarterback, doesn't turn it over, can score when he fucking has to, that defense should be good enough. I think Rodgers can at least bring that element to the game.
Yeah, I just feel like a guy like Rodgers just makes everybody around you just a little bit better,
Yep.
And that goes for the defensive side of the ball as well. You know what I mean? Veteran, Super Bowl winner, been around the block a million times, has seen everything.
Yep.
And yes, Russ has seen everything. Russ is just, I don't know, man. I just didn't think the guys really, even in camp last year, we didn't hear really a lot of stories of guys, chopping it up with Russ and hanging out
around with Russ.
You didn't hear that. With Rodgers, you already hear that. So I think that's a big thing. I think Rodgers really wasn't going to go out the way he went out. And I think he has a chip on his shoulder, man. I think he has a point to prove, and I'm excited to see it. I think he got a little bit left in the tank, and I know there's a lot of Steelers fans out there that are like, "Oh, here we go again." Veteran quarterback, 1,000,000 years old, can't move. Listen, Rodgers is a lot better than Russell Wilson. A lot better.
Yes.
A lot.
Yes. And I think the other thing is, Jerry, we're not married to it. We're not married to that deal. 1 year, peanuts, $13 million, Jerry. $13 million for a 1 year ride on Aaron Rodgers. I'm fine with that.
I don't want to get too far ahead. Listen, we're listen, like you said, we're not sharp right now. First episode back, and I don't want to jump the gun here. But if you see the Steelers go out this year and they make a run, and maybe they make an AFC Championship game, and maybe let's say they fall short, I think you'll see Rodgers again.
We said this about Russ last year. Like, do you think they bring Russ back if they make a deep run? And then obviously the fucking wheels fall off, and then you find out that maybe Russ didn't get along with Arthur Smith in the background.
I think if Russ won that game, he was coming back.
Yeah, probably. I agree. Probably.
I think so.
Thank God he didn't, because I didn't want to do another season of Russ. From the beginning, I wanted Fields, Jerry, and I was on Team Fields. I changed my stance when he won, but I was Team Fields. And then Fields goes into free agency, gets a bag from the Jets, which is crazy. I think he was way overpaid, but I was kind of pissed off. I'm like, if you were going to take a chance, why wouldn't you have just, rallied around him? You mentioned, the guys don't really rally around Russ, but it felt like last year they did like Fields. We know now there was a lot of support for Justin Fields in that locker room.
Yeah, there was.
And so to move off of him and to pivot, and then we said all summer, all offseason, we're like, they have a backdoor handshake in place with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
there's just no way they're going through this thing, holding their dick with no plan. Like, they had something planned out, and then you hear Rodgers say yesterday in an interview that Coach T and he would talk 2-3 days a week, every week.
Yeah,
and at no point was Coach T pushing him to join the Steelers. It was more just bullshit about life, stuff like that. So Mike Tomlin, I do give him shit, and he needs to be better, and I will not move off of that. He has always been the guy that the players like. They feel like he's a genuine guy, and I think that's whenever they say we want to play for him, that's that kind of shit that you hear. For Aaron Rodgers to have been in the league this long and say, he was excited just to come play for Mike Tomlin, that does say something that you and I, who have never played football, never been in a locker room in the NFL, anything like that, we can't maybe relate to. But I mean, it's time to nut up or shut up as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, another thing is, a couple months back, they asked Tomlin, when did you know, Rodgers is coming? And he's like, a long time before you, So that deal was in place months and months and months ago.
Right.
Rodgers just handles business like he handles business, man. He doesn't like to be in the media, and he likes to do his own thing. And, that deal probably was, as soon as Fields left, that deal was probably done.
Right. And I think it was that long, and the Steelers were just letting Rodgers do what he wanted to do. Yeah. Take your offseason. You don't have to come to OTAs. You don't have to do mini camp, none of that bullshit. As long as you're ready to go for training camp, we're good. He signs 2-3 weeks ago, and we know it's time then. And then prior to that, though, the Steelers had the draft. And so you go through the draft, first round, They take a defensive lineman. You take Derek Harmon, who was great at Oregon. And how can you not whenever you just got gashed? When you're building a team to beat the teams in your division, and the top dog in your division, whether we want to admit it or not, is the Baltimore Ravens, and they run the ball well and they fucking embarrassed us in the playoffs, you better add a guy like Derek Harmon, even though Cam Hayward coming off another all-pro season, which tipped the cap. That guy is still fucking special, still doing it at the highest levels. When you and I were both wrong when we said we wouldn't have given him a contract 2 years ago, he's made us eat that. You bring in Derek Harmon, and I think that defensive line has the potential to be the best it's been in many, many seasons, dating back to the early Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt days. I think you can see that between Keanu Benton going into year 3, who I think had kind of an up and down second season.
Yeah, not great.
Should be better this year. You're going to have Cam Hayward, so unless something drastic falls off with his game, you add Derek Harmon. They bring in Yahya Black. They draft him in the 4th round. 5th round out of Iowa. I think he could be something decent. He's having a great camp. You read Alex Kazora's camp talk every day. Yahya Black is playing well. He's getting his hands up, knocking balls down. That defensive line, I think, has the potential to be the best that it's been, which then also should allow the edge pass rush when you bring in Jack Sawyer out of the 4th round, Jerry. Pass rusher out of Ohio State. Very, very liked guy in this area. Big Buckeyes fans around here. He has a lot of game, Jerry. That guy was the heart and soul of that defense last year for the Buckeyes that went on to win a national title. 4th round, I would have rather them had taken a wide receiver. There were still wide receivers there. And at that time, you haven't signed TJ. So then they draft him and it's like, oh, wow, what's that mean for TJ? But man, look at the rotations they have between TJ and Highsmith. You have Herbig, now Jack Sawyer, if he can be something. You have a four-man rotation that can be the best that the pass rush has been, with the best defensive line that it's been, with the best secondary that it's been. This should be the best linebacking crew now, because like you said, Peyton Wilson going into year 2. Patrick Queen should settle in. He had an up-and-down first season with the Steelers. You know, you're also going to get back Cole Holcomb. Who knows what he's going to bring to the table this season.
Forgot about him. Wow, yeah, he's back. Shit.
So there are some things that excite me, but let's circle it to then the offensive side of the ball, because in round 2 you don't get a pick, so you can pretty much say that your DK Metcalf choice is your 2nd round draft pick. That's what they gave up to take him. I will take DK Metcalf with a 2nd round pick every day forever. That's a great fucking trade, something the Steelers would never do ever in years past. That's why I started off with, I believe in Omar Khan. He's doing things differently than they've ever done things. Or maybe Tomlin's also getting desperate and trying different shit. Either way, I fucking support it. You take Caleb Johnson in the 3rd round, Jerry, and all camp so far. Now, granted, it's been 4 days and none with pads. This fucking guy has explosion, Jerry. He is everything I think we would have wanted Najee to be. He has the ability to break it away when he gets outside.
Yeah. I've seen some of the, plays, people upload to Twitter and whatnot. He looks good, man. And I'll tell you what, this is no Diddy. You see some of his Instagram short stories with his shirt off? My God. What I would do for that body. He's yoked up, Kev.
Yeah.
He's in great shape.
Sometimes I don't know how your fucking brain takes you to these places. He's in great shape for sure. I love that. He's in great fucking shape.
Have you seen the stories or no?
Yes, Jerry. I'm just not crying. That's not something I would think of.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, he's in tip top shape, and he trains a lot in Arizona, because he wanted to see what it's like to be in an environment like that, 100+ degrees and whatnot. I'll tell you what, he looks great. He looks great. Tomlin has said it in some of the press conferences about his conditioning. Came into camp really, really well conditioned.
Yep.
Dude, I love that 1-2 punch. Whether they go, they're probably going to go Warren first and then Johnson, but either way, you look at it. I don't mind that rotation is pretty good, and he had Gainwell. That's a really good, solid running back room, man. It really is. And listen, Najee was a good Steeler, man. He wasn't a great Steeler, but he was a good Steeler. He didn't get hurt much. He barely, fumbled the ball. Would have loved to see them use Najee in the passing game a little bit more? Yeah, for sure. But you know what, man? He just didn't have that breakaway speed, that pop that you see with Warren and Johnson, man. He just didn't have it. what I will say, he could be pretty good on the Chargers.
I think he will be good on the Chargers. That's why what I'm going to say is speaking only for the 4 years that we had Najee Harris and not for what I expect him to do, because both he and George Pickens, I think, are going to have big years, respectively. With the Cowboys, I think GP has a great year. With the Chargers, I think Najee has a great year.
I do too.
I just thought there were times he had terrible vision. And the Steelers' offensive line was not great for most of his career with the Steelers. So there's a lot of things that kind of let me down on Najee, but you hit the nail on the head. He has no pop. He did not have the ability to have that breakaway speed. Now, did he have the highlights, fucking stiff arms, run through a fucking guy's face, smash him into the ground? Absolutely. He possessed all of that, and he ran hard every time. He played hard. He always showed up. He was always healthy, like you said. I don't have anything bad to say about that. He just lacked that explosion that I think Caleb Johnson possesses. Now, being a Penn State guy, Jerry, I've watched a lot of Caleb Johnson in the Big Ten. That guy is a fucking nightmare. You want to see what he can do well. He torched the Buckeyes, and that is, to me, the best defense in the Big Ten. He torched those fucking guys. Like, he has the potential to change what the Steelers haven't had. You know, every once in a while, Jalen Warren would blow the roof off. But when you're every down back, which I think will shift towards being Caleb Johnson halfway through this season, I just think he's a workhorse back. I think they want Jalen Warren to be the change of pace back. I agree he will start the season more than likely. But I think Caleb Johnson ultimately will either get to the point where they're completely 50-50 or maybe 60-40 leans Caleb Johnson's way, just because I think he is built to be more of the workhorse back that the Steelers would prefer. You saw last year, even whenever Najee was struggling, they still gave him tons of reps. He still got tons of reps in games. He was still getting the ball a ton. I just think that's how they prefer to run an offense. It's always been Mike Tomlin's MO. He's rarely ever been, running back by committee type of head coach. So we'll see how that breaks down, but he excites the shit out of me, man. I think of everybody they've drafted, Derek Harmon, I'm excited for. You should be. Caleb Johnson, to me, is the most exciting right now. But there's another guy that they took, Jerry, Will Howard, in the 6th round. And, you talked to Gruden. Gruden even told you, Jerry?
Gruden did that, that quarterback camp thing. He said by far Will Howard was the best one. By far.
And that Gruden's a quarterback whisperer, Jerry.
Yeah. As far as brains, memory and whatnot, Gruden was going through him with all this stuff. He said Will Howard was the sharpest by far. It wasn't even close.
The most NFL ready, he said, was Will Howard. I just think when you listen to Will Howard talk, and we put a lot of stock in this with Kenny, so I finally learned, let's just see some product on the field. But everything you can speak to that we've seen so far, it seems like Will Howard has it. You watch that Gruden QB camp. After that, I fell in love with the kid. I'm like, granted, I don't think a 6th round rookie quarterback comes in, and lights it up early, but who knows? He sits under Rodgers for a year, and Rodgers is openly saying, I'm trying to help him. Will Howard is saying, I'll suck up anything Aaron Rodgers wants to give me as far as information is concerned. I just think that maybe him sitting behind him for a year, I still think the Steelers do go quarterback in the 1st round next year when the draft is in Pittsburgh. I'll be quite shocked if they didn't. But I think that there's at least something that tickles my imagination with Will Howard that I would like to see. And of everybody this training camp, of everybody this preseason that I want to see play, I am the most excited to see what Will Howard brings to the field, at least in those preseason games.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the only way I feel like they don't go quarterback 1st round next year is if, Rodgers either one, it's abysmal through 6 games and they're 1-5 and they're just you're done. We're throwing in Will Howard, and then he lights it up.
Yep.
Or he's really fucking good. Or Rodgers goes down and Howard comes in and plays really, really well.
Right.
And lights it up. I think that's the only 2 options, because if Rodgers is healthy, I don't see this, you see it on Twitter, Kev, these people, I just feel like they just don't understand the Steelers. The Steelers are never bad. They're just never bad.
That's exactly.
They're never, the people will be like, "Oh, enjoy your 6 wins." They
won't have
year.
6 fucking wins. I can assure you that it will. At worst, it's a 9-win football team. At worst, I'll put any amount of money back on that. We do this every year. Yeah. At worst, it's a 9-win football team.
Yeah, that's just how they're built, man. That's just how they're ran. And hopefully this year, I feel like some of the moves they made, the draft they had, I think the ceiling is 12-13 here.
It's,
I think it's
I
like
think it's
13
gonna.
wins.
What's it gonna depend most on? For this entire roster, and we haven't hit on it yet. What will it
I'd
depend
say
the most
offensive
on?
line.
Without a doubt. Without a
Yeah.
fucking doubt, it's going to come down to, in my opinion, the biggest weakness right now, maybe left tackle Broderick Jones. He has not had a great start to camp. We've all seen the videos of Highsmith just embarrassing him. Now, granted, again, I'll harken back to that's not in pads. That's just in shorts. You're not going to really beat someone up whenever you don't have pads on. But, I mean, he doesn't look great, and that's the guy we're going to have to rely on to protect Rodgers' blind side. You're going to get Troy Fautanu back on the right tackle spot. He'll technically be a rookie in his second year because he didn't get to play at all last year. I believe in Mason McCormick at right guard. I believe in Zach Frazier at center. Isaac Sumalo is hurt, already soft tissue injury. Hopefully that's not one of those fucking things that just lingers all season. Today, Broderick Jones comes out, gets dinged at camp. We find out he has a soft tissue injury.
Yep.
So, these fucking soft tissue injuries, Jerry, this is insane. They need to get a new strength and conditioning coach. That guy, alongside Pat Meyer, maybe the two worst fucking coaches on the team, and that's saying something for coaching staff I don't love.
I'm surprised they didn't switch that up, that offensive line coach. I'm surprised they kept him there. I really thought he was gone.
That's disgusting. And that's the type of shit where at the end of the season, if this O-line does not get better, because we talk about this all the time, but look at Kevin Dotson, goes out to L.A., becomes the highest paid guard in football. You have these guys that leave the Steelers that they cut loose that ultimately go on to play great along the offensive line side of the ball. And yet we can't get that type of production out of them. To me, that's a coaching fucking thing. And Pat Meyer has been completely dog shit his entire tenure with the Steelers. That line has been shit. They have given it a lot of high-end picks. If it does not prove it this year, that guy should not coach in the NFL ever again. And they should eliminate him very early on, because at this point you've invested first-round pick in Broderick Jones, first-round pick in Fautanu, second-round pick in Frazier, fourth-round pick in McCormick, and you pay Samalo big money. So it's not like it's lacking talent at this point.
No.
It's time to make it produce. And to me, that is the biggest question mark, bigger than secondary wide receiver, bigger than second safety. It comes down to, can Broderick Jones figure it out, or is he a fucking bum? Which sometimes it bothers me when I see his effort. It's like he doesn't care. Now he's at left tackle, so I don't want to hear excuses this season. But is he going to produce? Is Fautanu going to produce? And can that offensive line give Rodgers the time he needs to use the weapons, to find your Jonnu Smiths, to find your Freiermuth, your DK Metcalf down the field? And can he open up holes for Caleb Johnson, Jalen Warren? Because if they can, Jerry, the offensive side of the ball, it comes back to, if they can get to 24 to 27 points a game, that defense will be plenty fine enough. We'll be talking the Steelers in late January.
That defense ain't giving up 24 points a game. They're not. No way. They stay healthy, shot.
If healthy, I agree with you. If healthy, I'll be absolutely shocked if they.
I mean, they'll have games where they give up like 24, 30, but overall, no way, no shot.
I agree, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't, and that should be That should be the bar. It shouldn't be the offense sucks and they're holding them back. That should be the bar. They're the highest paid. Go out there and get the fucking job done. And I will be hard as shit on them this year if they don't, because it comes back to what we've said for years. If they're going to continue to be the highest paid defense and not spend a ton of money on the offensive side of the ball, then they better fucking win that way. Then you better win that way. So that's a big one. The offensive line, Jerry, that's my biggest fear. And if they can get it going, though, I think that, like you said, 12, 13 wins, while I think is probably high, I think maybe 11, 12 is the ceiling. If the offense can produce and Rodgers can get it clicking, 13 wins is not out of the question, because you're still talking about one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. And and it's not as though old quarterbacks haven't won a Super Bowl. You saw it with Peyton Manning riding a hot defense. You've seen Tom Brady. Now he's an outlier, the GOAT ever, but you see old quarterbacks that can still get over that fucking hump. And who's to say Aaron Rodgers is not one?
This reminds me more of the Peyton Manning year. This reminds me more where their defense was really fucking good, bro. Like really
incredible. Good. And it's not like Peyton Manning played incredible that season. People forget. It's not like he played well. The Steelers, honestly, are one Fitzgerald Tucson fumble away from going in there with Big Ben and a sprained AC joint, no Antonio Brown, no Le'Veon Bell, and they almost fucking beat him in Denver. So, he wasn't great that season, but their defense was good enough, and it won a Super Bowl. So I don't want to count us out. The season's going to be a fucking blast. The schedule is going to be great. Jerry's actually going to make it to some games in Pittsburgh, which will be fun. We go to Chicago, where Jerry is at. That's going to be great.
That'll be cool. Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah, this season is man. I mean, it's the most excited I've been going into a season for a long time, Kev.
I,
Like
I don't
because
know.
I
I
think
was excited with Kenny.
no, I would definitely was excited with Kenny for sure, but we knew there was no Super Bowl that year.
Yeah,
Like we
correct.
knew
Yes.
it wasn't. This is I could talk myself into Super Bowl with this team very easy, very
Yeah,
easy.
that's
Just
it.
because of not even because of Rodgers, dude. It's not even that. I just think this defense, if they're healthy, it is so good.
It is. It is.
They look incredible. Like when you look at how deep they are everywhere, besides safety, really, they're fucking stacked, dude.
I
They
know.
really are.
I know. I know. And that to me is you say, if there's a way to talk myself into it, that's the way that I'm talking myself into it is 100%. It can the defense carry you after we just saw, and you and I have long said, does defense still win Super Bowls? Does defense win championships? Blah, blah, blah. We did that all last year. And then the Eagles defense comes out and says, yeah, it does. Their offense
Yeah,
is still incredible. You still have Saquon. You still have AJ Brown,
yeah, for sure.
Devonta Smith. They're still loaded offensively. Hurts, still top 10 quarterback as far as all that stuff goes, but their defense is what led the way. And so
Oh
if you're
yeah,
talking Super Bowl or bust, if all we have to do is get through the juggernaut in the AFC, which is the Chiefs, I
yeah,
think in a fucking gunfight, we can beat the Ravens, flip a coin. That's going to be what that game is. Hopefully it's in Pittsburgh if it gets to that point down the road. But yeah, I agree with you. If there's ever going to be a time that you can really talk yourself into it, this would be the season, which is interesting because 6 months ago, I was ready to just say, all right, you let Fields walk. Rodgers is old. I was already on that mentally. I'm like, no, he's old. I'm not bringing
yeah,
another old fucking quarterback. And then you see him come out. He still has the arm. As a fan, it's hard to be like, well, I would rather suck this year. Like, I'll do that 8 games in. If we do suck, I'll be asking,
yeah,
like, let's just fucking sizzle out so we can get a draft pick. But right
yeah,
now, it's easy to believe. It's easy to
yeah.
believe right now, Jerry.
Yeah, no, listen, I think it's going to take some time too. I will say that. We haven't talked about that, but it's not an easy schedule by any means, and I do think it's going to take somewhere between 5 and 6 weeks. But if they can have it figured out, and they could start running like a well-oiled machine by week 6, they're going to be very scary, bro. They're going to be very scary.
If hell,
And people in the media are talking about it now. With especially after Jalen Ramsey becomes a Steeler. When healthy, this is not a team you're going to want to see late in the year and
right,
in the playoffs.
right. I'm excited.
You don't want to see a defense like that in the playoffs, man.
That's the problem. You have a lot of dogs out there and dogs that are hungry, that if they are healthy by the time it gets there. Jerry, this is TJ Watt. He's 31 years old now. He has no playoff wins. And when they asked him, TJ, how do you feel about, coming back? You don't have any playoff wins. Like, what's that mean to your legacy? He's like, everybody talks about it. We all know about it. I think about it all the time. Yes, we want to win playoff games. He gets a bag, Jerry, early in the offseason. Myles Garrett, the Browns have to basically suck the guy's dick to get him to come back and sign with them. He says, he's probably leaving. They offer him ridiculous amount of money, which is the Browns' MO when they need to keep a guy that doesn't want to be there, throw a bag at him, which had to piss TJ off, whether he'll ever admit it or not. That he doesn't like Myles Garrett. I think that's common knowledge at this point. So, he's going to get paid. Would you have paid him, Jerry? And I know that's your boy and you love TJ. Would you have given him 40 M's a year for the contract?
Listen, I mean, you have not that they had no choice. They had a choice, but what kind of message would that have sent to your team?
Right.
If you just go this far and get all these different players on offensive and defense, and then you say, okay, well, we're not gonna sign our best player. I think that would send a bad message. One, number two, behind the scenes, we've heard things. That there was a chance they didn't pay TJ Watt.
Yeah.
There was a chance that they were thinking about moving on. There was a chance that they didn't think he was worth $41 million a year. But when push came to shove, I think it was the right thing to do. Especially because the cap went up, so the cap hits the same. So that's a big thing. And then they have a lot of cap next year.
Right.
And they still don't have whatever happens with Rodgers happens with Rodgers. but they're not spending $40-50 million a year on quarterback.
That's
So
the
you're able
biggest
to pay
part.
guys.
That's the
Yeah.
biggest part. You're not married to a $40 million
Yeah.
contract to a quarterback. And by the time this contract ends with TJ, you won't have to be paying a quarterback until that point in time. So there's no overlap. You have the money to spend. You can do it. It's not like $40 million quarterbacks come in free agency anyway. So unless you have one, you're not going to have to pay one. Yes. And from that standpoint, I agree. I initially was probably on before Rodgers comes in, I was on all right, maybe I would trade TJ train. And, we love TJ, Jerry. I fucking love TJ. It has nothing to do with like not liking the player or that he doesn't produce late in the season the last couple of years or in the playoffs. He's kind of a ghost, which all of these things are true. And that's being very brutally honest when we say it.
Yeah.
However, I still think exactly what you said. If you do not give him that money, what does that send to the team? Are we all in or aren't you all in?
Exactly.
So, and you couldn't have went through this season and let TJ just go through free agency next year. Like that's just bad business to even let him, it would have pissed him off. He wouldn't have, it wouldn't have been pretty. I would have never wanted to see how that went. He got his money. He's happy now. You're going to need production at him late in the year though. Last couple of years, TJ has sizzled out and the defense has struggled down the stretch. And I think there's a direct correlation when a man's making $40 million, you better get $40 million worth of production late in the year, especially in the playoffs. So,
well, I think the big thing is too, what you said earlier, Kev, is like, this isn't 3-4 years ago. Teams know he's probably the best player in football. Teams are going to do everything they can now.
Right.
To take him away.
Yep.
This isn't 4 years ago where, he was a really good player and, he wasn't get doubled as much. He's getting doubled and chipped almost every play now.
Yep.
Teams know that. Teams are doing that. So he has no choice now but to start moving around and, they got to blitz more. They have to blitz more. You have the secondary to do it now. There's no excuses.
Exactly.
They got to start blitzing more. So yeah, dude, he's got to stay healthy late in the year. He has to. And listen, dude, I mean, we have said it time in and time, all the time. Herbig is good. He is really good.
Fuck yes, he is.
You can rest TJ a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't expect TJ Watt to be on the field every single play. He never is anyway. There's some drives where he doesn't start. So throw Herbig in there a little bit more, dude. He could play, dude.
Yep.
He's a baller.
Yep.
Every time he's on the field, he makes some big plays,
Yep.
What's he going into, year 4 now or 3?
This is year 3 for Herbig.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I love Herbig, man. And TJ loves Herbig as well. The whole team does, man. He's a great player. He just has a knack of just getting to the ball, being around the ball.
He's a splashy player. He makes splashes.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it. Now knowing that you can also bring Herbig in on one side, and Jack Sawyer was a great pass rusher in college football.
Yeah.
I won't say the Steelers got a steal with Jack Sawyer in the 4th round. I think Jack Sawyer is a great, what he is, Jerry? He's a fucking football player. He's a real football player. Whether they line him up some outside linebacker, wherever they're going to put him, he's going to make an impact. But that's where it comes back to, instead of letting TJ get doubled into oblivion, bring those guys in so TJ can stay fresh, but also moving TJ around and getting Herbig on the field with Highsmith on the field, with TJ on the field. Why don't you want your best pass rushers to all be out there in some packages? Keep these offenses from having the ability to just say, TJ's on the right side, let's double him, worry about everyone else beating you.
Yeah.
This is the season now where Terrell Austin's bum ass, and I also think he is a fucking bum. Terrell Austin needs to be a much better defensive coordinator this season and get a little bit more creative. Take us back to the Dick LeBeau Blitzburg days where you actually have blitz packages that are exotic. You don't see it coming. You lead the league in sacks. You fucking run it up. You trust your secondary to make a play. You trust that the blitz is going to get home and your secondary is not going to get torched on the back end. That should be the MO for the Steelers this season.
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, listen, there's no excuses anymore. You have 3 cornerbacks that can play man football, dude. I mean, there's no excuse. They should be blitzing so much more. They should be sending these guys so much more this year. Hopefully they do, because Dude, I feel like last year they just never blitzed.
They
dude.
didn't. We had one of the lowest blitz rates in the NFL because they just sat back and they said, we're going to trust our two edge rushers and Highsmith and TJ to get home, or Cam to make pressure. You know, that's where we say Keanu Benton didn't have the greatest season. He didn't get a ton of pressures. That's where adding a third guy along that defensive line that we had hoped it would be Larry Ogunjobi, and he just never filled that role. At times he flashed, but it was not consistent enough. You bring in a guy with a high motor like Derek Harmon, who, Jerry, he has a high motor. He's a fucking hands battler. He's going to learn from Hayward. I think that those three now make the edge rush that much more lethal. I really do. I just think that you can't double everyone, and every one of those guys can win a one-on-one. And if you're going to give them all one-on-ones, we're going to have guys in the face.
Yeah.
Especially
I got a question for you.
Rush.
Do you think Highsmith has lived up to his contract?
Personally, yes, I actually do. I think where he's paid is right in line with Alex Highsmith's production. Now, when TJ's out, I think you would love to see more production out of Highsmith. There are times where Highsmith kind of goes ghost whenever TJ's not in there. He gets a little bit quiet. I do think this is probably the last contract for Alex Highsmith, just because you have the Nick Herbig waiting in the wings, younger. You know, you're going to ride probably TJ and Herbig and then Sawyer as at rotation, knowing that Highsmith is probably gone at some point in the near future.
I think so too. I think this is the last deal with the Steelers.
He's also a great run stopper. He's a great run stopper. He is a very good run stopper. I trust Highsmith. He makes big plays, Jerry. He does have another motor. He's also he's not a dickhead. At this point, the older I get, the more I realize these guys not being dickheads is a big part of why they get paid too.
Yeah.
He's just not a shithead. He does his job. He keeps his mouth shut. He's not a fucking locker room cancer. He doesn't say dumb shit in the media that they run with. He's just a good football player. And I like guys that just keep their head down, go about their business, and do their fucking job. Yeah, I think he's worth the contract that he's gotten. Why? You don't agree?
No, I would say for the most part, yes. But there is times where, you look over the other side of the ball and it's like he's been ghost for 3 games. It's just, there's times like that. But you're right. He's a great run stopper. He might not have all the sacks and whatnot, but I mean, probably where he's paid is pretty much where he should be, I'd say.
Right.
But I do think, depending on how Nick Herbig looks this year, I think this could be Highsmith's last contract with the Steelers.
More than likely it is, yeah. More than likely it is, because I think Herbig, like we said, for all those reasons, he's going into year 3. He'll get paid after this year because he's going into year 4, and he's not going to have that fifth year option to pick up. No. He wasn't drafted high enough to offer it, so they could tag him, franchise tag him, transition tag him, whatever you want to do as far as that's concerned. But from the standpoint of getting a contract, I think he gets paid after this season. Herbig does, and I think that
it might be pretty cheap too. It probably won't be expensive.
Well, it shouldn't be incredibly expensive because it's not like he has the insane production. Like, he'll get a decent contract, but it's not like he has starter production just yet.
No, yeah.
And so, yes, I do like him. I love the rotation on defense. Is the offense going to be able to put up points? That's the conversation we've had for how many years now, and that's what it's going to come down to, and it starts with that O-line. So if they do, Jerry, it's exciting. It's going to be an exciting fucking year.
Yeah, man. It should be. I'll tell you what. It's like this is one of the years where, like, we always pretty much know what to expect. We're always close. When we do our predictions and stuff like that for the year, we're always pretty damn close. It's just, this is just one of those years, dude, where I feel like, dude, they can, like, when we do predictions, we're never like, okay, yeah, this team is winning like 14, 15 games. We don't do that.
No.
We're realistic. But this is a team where you just don't know how good they can really be.
Mm-hmm.
They got so many different. It's just like so exciting talking about the Steelers this year because, people will say they're old and that's fine, dude. But man, they look so good on paper. I'm so excited.
On paper, that's just it for me. On paper, I don't want to be the offseason champs again and then go into the regular season and lose games you shouldn't lose, be clawing for the playoffs, backing in kind of like we were at the end of last year. I want to finally go into the playoffs healthy. Let's make a run at the fucking division for a change. Let's have a home playoff game for a fucking change, and get over that hump. It's time to start climbing back towards the ultimate prize. And, you have all the pieces there, which is one thing we haven't discussed. While, yes, right now, this season, they're all in, they've also done something that they've been building towards doing the last few years, and that's putting a roster around a possible young quarterback, whether that is Will Howard or a rookie quarterback that they could take maybe next year. They finally have gotten back to that 2003 Pittsburgh Steelers, where you have a nasty defense, you have great defensive players all over it, you have a good offense, good offensive line, good run game. Now you're just missing the one quarterback. So while yes, this is 1 year and fans were pissed off that they brought Rodgers in, for whatever reason, they're primed to win right now. They're also positioned to bring a quarterback in that is young next year and thereafter to also continue winning and there not be a big dip. They kind of went through a rebuild. That's what we've been doing. We've been going through a rebuild, but we're still making the playoffs. We're still competitive. It's not like they had that 4, 5, 6 win season that completely had to reset everything. As much as I thought it might have helped and sped the process up a couple years ago, they did it their way. And hats off to Omar Khan and Andy Weidel for building both the offensive line and the defensive line, because that's where you win. That's been proven where you fucking win games in the NFL. And finally, this should be the year where they get back to legitimate Steelers football, where you can suck the air out of the game at the end by running it down their fucking throats, by being nasty. And I think a guy like Zach Frazier in the middle of that offensive line sets the tone. He, Mason McCormick, two young bulls can be great. Fautanu, I play golf with Fryermuth. He's a member at my club now. So like he's like, dude, this guy's a dog. Like he's going to be good. I believe in him. Broderick Jones, if he can just pull his head out of his ass and produce, Jerry, that line is young and going to be good for years.
Oh, yeah. You know what I think a big thing this year is, Kev, that we haven't talked about yet? When you have a defense like they have, and like we've said before, probably top 3 on paper, if they can produce how they're supposed to produce, how they're paid to produce, dude, if this team goes out to like 13-3 leads, 20-7 leads, that's game over, dude.
Yeah, 100%.
They haven't been able to do that for a long, long time.
Just
man.
pin the ears back and eat. We haven't had that in a while because we never. Jerry, look how long it's been. It's been, I want to say it's been like 15 years or something since the Steelers have had an opening drive touchdown in game 1 of the NFL season. Like they just don't even start. We start slow historically, and I think a guy like Rodgers, who's smart enough, watches film, knows defensive tendencies. You think a guy like him is going to come out and be a slow starter? Even at 41, I just don't see it happening. I just don't see that happening.
You can't, dude. They got to just start games better, dude, because listen, they are in every game. Every game they're in, pretty much no matter what. Occasionally you'll have that 1 or 2 blowouts a year, whatever.
Yep.
But they're in every game. And the difference is, dude, is like they just, for the first quarter of football, they're just, I don't know what has to change, dude. Hopefully it's already changed with this new roster they put together on both sides of the ball. But, dude, they have to score touchdowns. They can't settle for field goals early on, dude.
Yep.
Because, like you said, now the defense could fucking pin their ears back, dude, up fucking 2 scores. Take some more chances, you know what I mean?
Yeah, really put it away and let the defense then get a takeaway. The game's out of reach then.
Exactly.
Actually blow teams out. You want to be one of the best teams in football, you better have the ability to go 0-60 in an instant. Blow teams out, go for the throat, hit the jugular. We haven't had that in years. Now, I think we've gotten a little bit better the last couple of seasons, but we're still not anywhere near the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals even. They have that cutthroat mentality while their defense sucks. They're still going to be a wagon in the AFC North. And with Aaron Rodgers, I'm hoping, at least if nothing else, the Steelers have the ability to do that. And I don't need it to be 3 plays touchdown. I'm fine if it's 14 plays and you just methodically just destroy defenses because, A, that hurts them even more. Wears them out. They're tired. Morale is low. Whenever there's nothing you can do, you can't get off a field. And Aaron Rodgers is best when he's in that type of situation. Yes, he can throw the deep ball. And I think with DK Metcalf, you're going to have that luxury, but looking at the pieces you have to think about what you can make with the pieces you have. And when you have a strong run game and you have 2 elite tight ends, it's going to be a lot of 5-7 yards over the middle, just beating the shit out of teams that way.
Exactly. Which I do like. Well, it's more fun to watch, a team like the Eagles with these 60-70 yard plays they get feels like twice a game. That's just how they're going to have to win, dude. These long drives where, Jalen Warren gets you 7 yards, 6 yards, and a throw over the Freiermuth for a first down, then just chew clock. And the big thing is why, people say year after year, the defense falls apart so late in the year. Well, dude, they're on that side of the football for fucking 3/4 of the game. What do you expect, dude?
Right.
What do you expect? Hopefully that changes this year. It needs to change.
That's the biggest thing. We'll know early on, are the Steelers different, or are they just more of the same and just repackaged? Because that will tell me, can the Steelers, can they run it up early in the season? Last year they only really ran it up one time. It was against the Bengals, and then they never went back to that same look at all the rest of the season. So are they going to have the ability to run it up? You know why I like Rodgers the most, Jerry? This is something we haven't discussed yet. I think what he brings to the Steelers is a little bit of that I don't give a fuck attitude. And they haven't had that since Ben, where, in the huddle, he's going to fucking call the play he wants to call. The ball's going to go where he wants it to go. He's going to tell Arthur Smith the play he wants to run. Tomlin is going to listen to him. That's why they brought him in. They trust him. That type of, you used to hear the players say Big Ben would do it, call his own plays in the huddle, late in games, that you just tell us where to run that route. And it worked. Aaron Rodgers possesses that type of talent, that type of brain. That's something that maybe the Steelers have lacked that they need. You need a little pushback. Take the fucking bull by the horns yourself and go win the game. And that is what Rodgers possesses. And if nothing else, maybe there's some friction back against Mike Tomlin and their archaic way of playing football. Maybe Rodgers tells him, look, let's fucking throw the ball. Let's go downfield. We can do this. Like, trust me, let's fucking do it. I'm hoping you at least get a little bit of that out of Aaron Rodgers, because he doesn't seem like the kind to just sit there, swallow, grin, and take it. Like, he's going to have his input.
Especially if deep down, if this is really his last year, dude,
right.
He ain't gonna let that happen.
Right. This is his legacy at this point, and so he's playing for legacy. And a lot of people that I've read on Twitter, they're like, I just don't know early in the year if it doesn't go the way he thinks. Like, who's to say he doesn't just, quietly quit on his team and just doesn't have Aaron Rodgers, as much as people don't like him, he doesn't strike me as one of those guys, Jerry. Like, he's just not a fucking quitter. He's just not, guys like him, you don't like him for other reasons. As a football player, when do you ever hear his teammates say he's a bad teammate? Or that, he didn't want to win or some stupid shit like that? Never. Anybody that's ever talked about him speaks highly about him as far as a locker room is concerned.
No, never, dude. I think, there's just people who just don't like him just because how he is with the media and probably his political views and whatnot, which is whatever. Like you said, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
If you voted for Trump or Biden, if you could fucking win football games, I don't give a fuck.
Right. And we need to get back to that too as a society, man, because it is crazy some of the shit that we've seen lately. Like the Hulkster, poor Hulkamania passes. Everyone hates the guy again, Jerry.
Yeah, I know. Hulkster, legend.
Sad. Aussie. We've lost some legends, Jer.
Yeah, dude. Fuck, my mom was a big Aussie fan. She was devastated.
Terrible. I saw your video. Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, Mom, Aussie's dead.
Yeah, she was upset. She was hurting with that one. Man, I'm just so excited, Kev. This is a year where, like, I could last year, like we said it ourselves. Like, it's not a Super Bowl year. We knew that, the way the roster was and who we had at certain positions and whatnot. But dude, I think this year, dude, at the minimum, you better win a fucking playoff game at the minimum.
Yes. And if that is not it, it is time to fucking move on. It's time to move on, man. Because here's the thing, and we'll end with this topic. I'm not going to ride Tomlin. This is my normal routine. I'll give Tomlin a leash early in the year. If he coaches like shit and the team goes to shit late in the year, I'm going to ride his ass into the fucking ground. But I always give him the chance. If he can't get this team, which is he brings in his quarterback, his Rodgers was what he wanted. It's his fucking defense, highest paid. They pay TJ, all this shit. Trade Minka away for Jonnu. They do all of these moves. If he can't get it done this year, I don't want to give him the ability to coach a rookie quarterback. There's just nothing that gives me the idea that Mike Tomlin should be given the freedom to then start over and rebuild with a rookie quarterback. At that point, you pull the fucking plug. Let's move on. I'll go to that later in the year. if it gets to that point. But for right now, I'm Team Tomlin. Let's fucking win. If I have to take out 10 billboards this year, Jerry, I will. I don't fucking care. That's how I feel about it. You know, is there anything else you want to cover this episode? It's been an hour.
Just so excited to finally be back. I think we're gonna just do once a week now from here on out.
Once a week until we get to the season, and then we'll do
right?
Yeah, we'll do 2 episodes a week during the season. Yeah. But leading up, we'll do an episode a week here. We'll try and get an episode out every Wednesday for you guys, or Tuesdays, probably at the latest. I would say we'll record maybe Mondays or Sundays. This is Sunday when we're recording now. This episode you guys should hear by Monday evening. Yeah, we will get it out. Like, comment, subscribe. Jerry, we're pushing 20,000 subs. We're pushing 20,000 fucking subs for the Steel Here podcast, which is incredible. Thank you guys for that. Like, comment, subscribe. If you're not subscribed, do us a favor right now. Hop down there, hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment. Tell us what you want us to talk about this season, you know, things that are outside the box. We'll take some questions this year.
Yeah, we should take a couple questions in episode 2, Kev.
Yeah,
you know, we
definitely should.
Try to do something like that. Let me ask you, do you think, what do you think if we went live and did our episodes, do you think it would be better or no?
I think 1 episode a week we should do live. I really think we should get back to recording right after the game. You know, trying to record right after the game if we have time. I know Jerry records and I'm usually at the games, but if we have even 30 minutes after the game to do the rapid reaction and then do the episode later in the week, I think that is our best formula. I just think that getting it raw right out of the gates whenever we just finished watching it, it's so much better. The content is better. The people, I think, like that more. They're all wallowing in misery or riding the highs that we are as well. It's going to be tough. Like, I'm going to be in Ireland. I'll be at every game again this season. I'm pretty sure I'm going to make all 17 again. Definitely doing Ireland. So that's going to be a fucking blast. But some of those we'll have to just coordinate how we pull that off. But I do think that's our best bet, recording the day of the game and then recording again later in the week. I think those were our best results. Jerry, at the end of the year, we were getting somewhere around 10 to 12,000 YouTube streams alone. You know, that's incredible. That is fucking incredible. We love you guys. We genuinely do love doing this show. So I'm excited as fuck to be back. Season 4, Jerry, we are still here and we are not going anywhere. We appreciate the shit out of you guys. We will see you here again next week. Leave us some questions, some comments in the YouTubes here, and then we'll take some of those questions moving forward.
All right, Kev. See you next week.
Hell yeah, brother.
We're here. We're still here.
We are still here.